Okay. Let me just check if this live is working. Is it? Um, Let me see. Okay. Yeah, it should be. Okay, yeah, it's working. All right, cool. Yeah, so I wanted to go over the key of David. And it's this thing that really the whole blunder kind of comes with the Christian church. They don't go read line upon line, here a little, there a little, precept upon precept, which is what you're told to do in Isaiah 28. And so one of the key places you have is in Matthew chapter 12, where Yeshua says um, to go learn what David did on the Sabbath day, where he was held blameless. Um, so Matthew chapter 12, um, okay, verse 1. At that time, Yeshua went on the Sabbath day through the corn, and his disciples were an hungered, and began to pluck the ears of corn, and to eat. But when the Pharisees saw it, they said unto him, Behold, thy disciples do that which is not lawful to do upon the Sabbath day. So they're accusing Yeshua of breaking the Sabbath. And so what you can't say is that, like the whole Christian church, you can't say that, like, you don't say that Yeshua is a sinner. So then he also didn't break the Sabbath day here. So you have to go figure out, well, how is he able to break the Sabbath, yet be held blameless? And so it says, But he said unto them, Have ye not read what David did when he was an hungered, and they that were with him? So then he's telling you, right? Are you ignorant of this thing that David was a hungered on the Sabbath day, right? And then what he do? How he entered into the house of God and to eat the show and did eat the showbread, which was not lawful for him to eat, neither for them which were with him, but only for the priests. Because there's this thing where in Numbers 28, I think it's Numbers 28, where they're supposed to have um, like all these like loaves of bread that are supposed to be like dedicated wholly to God. Um, or have you not read in the law how that on the Sabbath days the priests in the temple profane the Sabbath and are blameless? Because specifically in Numbers 28, it says that there's this daily sacrifice that they're supposed to have. And so today, really, that daily sacrifice is our communication. Um, so, um, but I say unto you that in this place is one greater than the temple. But if you had learned what this meaneth, I'll have mercy and not sacrifice, you would not condemn the guiltless. So back to what was talked about um, with David, right? Why was David allowed to break the Sabbath yet be held blameless, right? Because then it would reveal to us what why Yeshua was allowed to break the Sabbath and his disciples, but still be held blameless. And so this is in First Samuel chapter 21. Um, so First Samuel 21, and I'm going to start at verse 1. Then came David to Nob, to Amalek the priest. And Amalek was afraid at the meeting of David, and said unto him, Why art thou alone, and no man with thee? And David said unto Amalek the priest, The king hath commanded me a business, and hath said unto me, Let no man know anything of the business whereabout I send thee, and what I have commanded thee. And I have appointed my servants to such and such a place. Now therefore, what is under thine hand? Give me 5 loaves of bread in mine hand, or what there is present. And the priest answered David and said, There is no common bread under mine hand, but there is hollow bread, right? There's holy bread if the young men have kept themselves at least from women. And David answered the priest, and said unto him, Of a truth, women have been kept from us about these 3 days, since I came out, and the vessels of the young men are holy. And the bread is in a manner common, yea, though it were sanctified this day, in the vessel. So the priest gave him hallowed bread, for there was no bread there but the showbread that was taken from before Jehovah, to put hot bread in the day when it was taken away. So there's only the holy bread. Um, and so what were they allowed? How were they allowed to take this holy bread? If the women or if the men have kept themselves from women for 3 days, right? So and one of those days would have been the Sabbath. So that would be Thursday, Friday, and the Sabbath. And so what you'll notice is in other translations of the same verse, they don't mention, right, that they kept themselves from women for 3 days. So that's just a key indicator that, so well, there's something going on here, and they don't want you to know this. And then so now if you could go over to Numbers 28, and you'll see, like in the first 6 verses, how there was this offering that the priests were supposed to do every single day. And well, you're not allowed to say burn a fire on the Sabbath at their time. So how are they allowed to do this? Well, it was because they were keeping the key of David. Um, and so part of the reason even like why it's named after David is you got Isaiah 22, and we'll go there later. But then also, uh, David was wiser than all of his teachers. And you get that in Psalm 119, verse 99, right? I have more understanding than all my teachers, for thy testimonies are my meditation. And so David got this from somewhere, right? He didn't just make this up. And you actually see this in the law in Exodus 19. Um, and Exodus 19 is all about how Israel agreed to keep the covenants at Horeb, right? This is what Yeshua was going to refresh as you see prophesied in Deuteronomy 18. So, Exodus 19, verse 3. And Moses went up unto God, and Jehovah called unto him out of the mountain, saying, Thus shalt thou say to the house of Jacob, and tell the children of Israel, Ye have seen what I did unto the Egyptians, and how I bare you on eagle's wings, and brought you unto myself. Now therefore, if ye will obey my voice indeed, and keep my covenants, then ye shall be a peculiar treasure unto me, above all people, for all the earth is mine. And ye shall be unto me a kingdom of priests, and an holy nation. These are the words which thou shalt speak unto the children of Israel. And Moses came and called for the elders of the people, and laid before their faces all these words which Jehovah commanded him. And all the people answered together and said, All that Jehovah hath spoken we will do. And Moses returned the words of the people unto Jehovah. And Jehovah said unto Moses, Lo, I come unto thee in a thick cloud, that the people may hear when I speak with thee, and believe thee forever. And Moses told the words of the people unto Jehovah. And Jehovah said unto Moses, Go unto the people, and sanctify them today and tomorrow, and let them wash their clothes, and be ready. And like washing their clothes, it goes back to, I think it's I don't know where else it's in the law, but it's like if you spill your seed, right, then it makes you unclean, right, unholy. And so if you spill your seed, then um, like on your clothes, then well, you're no longer keeping that key of David fast, because it's a fast for 3 days of not having sex. Um, and so washing the clothes is like idiomatic for that. But so verse 11, and be ready against the third day, for the third day Jehovah will come down in the sight of all the people unto Mount Sinai. And thou shalt set bounds unto the people round about, saying, Take heed to yourselves, that ye go not up unto the mount, or touch the border of it. Or don't touch the border, because that represents like and touch like going to Mount Sinai, because that represents sacrificial law. Whosoever toucheth the mount shall be surely put to death. There shall not an hand touch it, but he shall surely be stoned or shot through. Whether it be beast or man, it shall not live. When the trumpet soundeth long, they uh, and when the trumpet soundeth long, they shall come up to the mount. And Moses went down from the mount unto the people, and sanctified the people, and they washed their clothes. And he said unto the people, Be ready against the third day, come not at your wives. And then it came to pass in the morning on the third day, right? Because every day begins at dawn, especially the Sabbath day. Um, and so here you see again, right? They didn't come at their wives for 3 days. And this is again, right? 3 days sexual fast, where you keep yourselves from women. Um, and so now go into like where you see the mention of the key of David in Revelation 14, or I mean in Revelation 3, um, because when you keep this fast, right, keep yourselves from women for 3 days, your vessel is holy, right? That's what you saw David say. Um, Revelation 3. Okay, okay. Revelation 3, starting verse 7. And to the angel of the church in Philadelphia. And so Philadelphia, it means brotherly love. And so that means that when you have this key of David, right, you're going to be fulfilling the royal law. And so even the key of David is going to help you with fulfilling the royal law. And so we're going to get into that a little bit more later about like how it helps you, right? Why do you want like why is it a good thing to know this key of David and to have it? Um, and you'll see that when you have the key of David, when you receive it, right, then you have to be faithful with it. But so, and to the angel of the church in Philadelphia, right? These things saith he that is holy. Because it wasn't just Yeshua that had the key David, but it was also his disciples that were with him. David had the key David. You'll see in Isaiah 28 where this guy Eliezer had the key David. Um, so, and he can give it to, Yeshua can give it to whoever he wants to. Right? So these people are holy because they are going to have a holy vessel. He that is true, right? They have the spirit of truth. He that hath the key of David. And so even like with the holy stuff, right? So you're gonna keep yourselves from women, obviously. Then also you're gonna be keeping the holy covenant, right? Which is the Ten Commandments. You're gonna be keeping the holy commandments, which is the royal law. You're gonna be not eating unclean animals that make you unholy if you eat them, right? So you're not gonna be eating pork, shellfish, whatever. And you're also be keeping the holy Sabbath, like because it's even all about the Sabbath too. Um, But so he that hath the key of David, he that openeth and no man shutteth, and shutteth and no man openeth. I know thy works. Behold, I have set before thee an open door, and no man can shut it. For thou hast a little strength. And who are these people that have a little strength? If you go over to Amos chapter 7, the people that have a little strength is Jacob. And Jacob represents the man child that's born in Revelation 12. Right? He is the 144,000 that we're going to go over to Revelation 14. These people that have a little strength and has kept my word and has not denied my name. Right? So these people that have the key, David, they haven't denied his name. You see in James 2, right, that there's these people that are blaspheming his name, and then he does a flip and it's like, well, if you fulfill the royal law according to scripture, thou shalt love thy neighbor as yourself, ye do well. So the people that have not denied his name, they're fulfilling the royal law, right, which means to love your neighbor as yourself. You see in Isaiah 52 that every day continually they're blaspheming his name. So there's only going to be a certain small group of people that have not denied his name because they're going to call on Yeshua, not Jesus, because God's name, his name is Jehovah, and then Yeshua comes in Jehovah's name. And you have this prophecy in Jeremiah 23 where people are going to forget Jehovah's name for Baal, right? So instead of calling him by Jehovah, they're going to call him Jesus, and that's what they've done. Behold, I'll make them the synagogue of Satan, which say they are Jews and are not, but do lie. Behold, I'll make them to come and worship before thy feet, and to know that I have loved thee, because thou hast kept the word of my patience, right? And the patience of the saints, right, is the faith of Yeshua, um, and like keeping the commandments or whatever. Or no, the faith of Yeshua and uh, the testimony or whatever. Um, that's like what is it? Revelation 14, verse 12. Make sure we read that. real quick to see what it exactly says. Here is the patience of the saints. Here are they which keep the commandments of God and the faith of Yeshua. Yeah, so the faith of Yeshua you see in James 2, it's the royal law. Um, but so thou hast kept the word of my patience. I also will keep thee from the hour of temptation. So the people that have the key of David, they're also going to be delivered from the hour of temptation, right? They're going to be called to the throne at the time of the sixth seal. Because you also see this in the Lord's Prayer, right? Our Father in heaven, hallowed be thy name, right? Because they're calling upon His name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done on earth as heaven, right? Like, and it goes on to like deliver us from evil, um, which shall come upon all the world to try them that dwell upon the earth, right? So that they can make their robes white. Behold, I come quickly. Hold that fast which thou hast, that no man take thy crown, right? Nobody should take your crown of glory, right? You see this in Isaiah 28. And then goes, him that overcometh will I make a pillar in the temple of my God, and he shall go no more out, right? So at the time of the millennium reign, like they're no longer going to be going out, right? They're going to no longer need to be going out and fulfill the law. But right now, right, they're going in and out, right? Because they're going out and fulfilling the royal law. But at the time of the millennium reign, like everybody's going to be keeping the commandments. You see this in Hebrews 8, quoting Jeremiah 31, where everybody's going to be keeping the commandments. Nobody's going to have to tell their brother to know Jehovah, which means to keep the commandments in First John 5. Or no, First John, I think it's 2. Um, so he will go no more out, and I'll write upon him the name of my God and the name of the city of my God, which is New Jerusalem, which cometh down out of heaven from my God. And I'll write upon him my new name. He that hath ear, let him hear what the Spirit saith unto the churches. Okay, so again, these people that have the key of David, they are holy, and they're fasting. They're fasting from having sex from their women. And so now when we go over to Revelation 14, right, this fast from women, it's going to make a lot more sense, right? Because now we're going to see that they're virgins, right? They're delivered from the hour of temptation because they're called to the throne. They're going to be these first fruits unto God, um, right? Which again is Jacob, the man child you see in Revelation 12. Um, But yeah, so Revelation 14, verse 1. And I looked, and lo, a lamb stood on Mount Zion, and with him 144,000, having his father's name written in their foreheads. Again, it's about having his name. They haven't denied his name. And I heard a voice from heaven, as the voice of many waters, and as the voice of a great thunder. And I heard the voice of harpers harping with their harps, and they sung as it were a new song before the throne. So now also these people, these same people, they also know what this new song is, which is Deuteronomy 32, the new song of Moses, which only the redeemed of Jehovah will learn. Right? So and they sung as it were a new song before the throne, before the four beasts and the elders. And no man could learn that song but the 144,000 which were redeemed from the earth. These are they which are not defiled with women, for they are virgins, because they have the key of David. These are they which follow the Lamb whithersoever he goeth. These were redeemed from among men, or they're called up, being the first fruits unto God and to the Lamb. And in their mouth, right? So why is there's going to be something in their mouth? Because they're fulfilling the royal law. It's their communication, the acceptable sacrifice, right? It goes back to Numbers 28, where these priests, yeah, day by day they're doing these sacrifices, and they had to keep the key of David so they could even do it on the Sabbath day. And so now we keep the key of David so we could even fulfill the royal law on the Sabbath day, right? So we could cast out demons. Yeah, it's okay to do good on the Sabbath day. It's always okay to do good, but having the key of David, it it helps you to cast out demons on the Sabbath day. And in their mouth was found no guile, for they are without fault before the throne of God. Um, Yeah, I'll stop there with that place. So, um, back to what we're reading in Revelation 3, right? So the key to David, and they're gonna go in and out, in and out. And so this brings us to the only other mention of the key of David in Isaiah 22, because we want to get a really good idea of what this key of David is, and then I'll kind of go into something else. Um, so Isaiah 22, and it's at the end here. So starting verse 20. And it shall come to pass in that day that I will call my servant Eliakim, the son of Hilkiah, and I will clothe him with uh, thy robe, and strengthen him with thy girdle. And I will commit thy government into his hand, and he shall be a father to the inhabitants of Jerusalem and to the house of Judah. And this is like pretty prophetic. Like yeah, it's talking about Yeshua, but then you also have the man child, like uh, like to those that overcome, they're given a rod of iron, even as Yeshua has received of his father. You see that at the end of I think Revelation 2, right? So it's the same thing. Like they're also going to be these people as well. Verse 22. And the key of the house of David will I lay upon his shoulder, so he shall open and none shall shut, and he shall shut and none shall open. Right again, it's the same thing. And so now what's another idiom for like this key to David? And I'll fasten him as a nail in a sure place. Right, and this is going back to following the Lamb whithersoever he leadeth. Right, it means like fasting is a nail. You're gonna see it's gonna be like thrusted through his ear, and that means like he's gonna be listening to Yeshua. Um, but so he's going to fasten. Yeah, I read comments, but I'm not gonna do that today. Um, anyways, um, so I will fasten him as a nail in a sure place, and he shall be for a glorious throne to his father's house. Um, and they shall, uh, yeah, and they shall hang upon him all the glory of his father's house, the offspring and the issue, all vessels of small quantity, from the vessels of cups even to all the vessels of flagons. In that day, saith Jehovah of hosts, shall the nail that is fastened in a sure place, so that nail fastened in a sure place, that's an idiom for these people that have the key of David. It shall be removed, right? So they're no longer going to be going in and out, or well, they're no longer going to be going out, as you saw in Revelation 3. And be cut down and fall, and the burden that was upon it shall be cut off, for Jehovah has spoken it, because they're no longer going to be needing to fulfill the royal law. Um, and so this nail, where that's fastened in a sure place, you see this more in Deuteronomy 15, where it's an awl. An awl is basically the same thing as a nail. It's thrust through the ear. Okay, so I'm going to start at verse 12. And if thy brother, an Hebrew man, or an Hebrew woman, be sold unto thee, and serve thee 6 years, then in the seventh year thou shalt let him go free from thee. And when thou sendest him out free from thee, thou shalt not let him go away empty. Thou shalt furnish him liberally out of thy flock, and out of thy floor, and out of thy winepress, of that wherewith the Yahweh thy God hath blessed thee, thou shalt give unto him. And thou shalt remember that thou wast a bondman. Right, remember that thou was a bondman, because bondmen, they're servants, in the land of Egypt, and Jehovah thy God redeemed thee. Therefore I command thee this thing today. Right, Jehovah redeemed thee. And in Revelation 14, you see that these people were redeemed, first fruits. And it shall be, if he say unto thee, I will not go away from thee, because he loveth thee and thine house, because he is well with thee. Then thou shalt take an awl, right, a nail, an awl, and thrust it through his ear, um, unto the door, and he should be thy servant forever. And also unto thy maidservant thou shalt do likewise. Um, and it shall not seem hard unto thee when thou sendest him away free from thee For he hath been wroth a double hired servant to thee, and serving thee 6 years, and Jehovah thy God shall bless thee in all that thou doest. So these people that are going to receive the key of David, they're wanting to be servants, right? So they're going to be continuing rebuking sin, loving their neighbor as himself, right? So they're going to be like as an ear thrust through or as a nail or an awl thrust through their ear, and it's nailed to the door, right? So now who is the door? So who are they getting nailed to? Right? Yeah, they're getting to like here it's a literal door, but who is the door? Right? So then now this brings us to John chapter 10. So John 10, starting verse 1. Verily, verily, I say unto you, he that entereth not by the door into the sheepfold, but climbeth up some other way, the same is a thief and a robber. But he that entereth in by the door is the shepherd of the sheep. Right, and so then the sheep, they go in, like, they go in and out or whatever. Like, the shepherds or yeah, the shepherds, they go in and out. And so again, like, shepherds, they have a staff, right, a rod. It's a staff of authority. Because these people they become watchmen, right? Mark 13, what I say unto you, I say unto all, watch. And so they're gonna be going in and out. Um, so to him the porter openeth, and the sheep hear his voice, and he calleth his own sheep by name, and leadeth them out. And when he putteth forth his own sheep, he goeth before them, and the sheep follow him, for they know not his voice. And a stranger will they not follow, but will flee from him, for they know not the voice of strangers. This parable spake Yeshua unto them, but they understood not what things they were which he spake unto them. Then said Yeshua unto them again, Verily, verily, I say unto you, I am the door of the sheep. So these servants that are rebuking sin, these watchmen, they're going to have their ear nailed to Yeshua. And so that means that they're following him wherever he leads them, right? They're listening to him. And Yeshua's then going to give them the mean due season, right? So again, all that ever came before me are thieves and robbers, but the sheep did not hear them. I am the door. By me, if any man enter in, he shall be saved and shall go in and out, and then they will find pasture. Um, so these people, they're gonna they're gonna enter in, and then they shall go in and out. Right? Going back to the key of David, they're gonna go in and out. The people that have the key of David, they're gonna go in and out. So uh, yeah, these people that enter into the door, they have their ear nailed to the door of Yeshua. They're gonna also uh, be these people that go in and out and find pasture. But and like they're gonna be these shepherds that are gonna go look for the sheep and then bring more people in. Right? They're gonna also tell them the key of David, whatever. But um, yeah, let's see here. Where do I want to go to next? Okay. And so now I want to go to actually, yeah, Isaiah 56 is a good place to go to, because it talks like it's basically directly talking about Deuteronomy um 15 about these servants that are keeping the Sabbath day, um, or these eunuchs. Because a eunuch, it's basically a person that's like castrated, like their balls are removed, so that they no longer are able to have like sex, or like they don't have like the sexual drive or whatever. Um, and so that connects back to these virgins, um, because like eunuchs, like so like kings or whatever, they had eunuchs, and so that means like they would take these people or whatever. They might be like eunuchs from like birth or whatever, or they're made eunuchs by the king, so that then they are able to like guard, like say even like their daughters or whatever, but they don't have the sexual drive to have sex with them. Um, and so then that makes them virgins. But yeah, so this is Isaiah 56, and it's all about even this Ethiopian eunuch in Acts chapter 8. But so Isaiah 56 verse 1, thus saith Jehovah, keep ye judgment, right, rebuke sin, and do justice. For my salvation, my Yeshua, is near to come, and my righteousness to be revealed. Blessed is the man that doeth this, and the son of man that layeth hold on it, that keepeth the Sabbath from polluting it, and keepeth his hand from doing any evil. Neither let the son of the stranger that hath joined himself to Jehovah, for how they join themselves to Jehovah, having their ear nailed to the door, speak, saying, Jehovah hath utterly separated me from his people. Neither let the eunuch say, Behold, I am a dry tree. For thus saith Jehovah unto the eunuchs that keep my Sabbaths. Right, so like the key to you're going to be keeping the Sabbath. Like you have to. I mean, it's even a commandment you see in Jubilees, where you're not supposed to have sex on the Sabbath day. And choose the things which that please me, and take hold of my covenant. And so, like again, like these people, like they delight in Jehovah, and so like they don't want to like depart from it. And then so that's why they want to be like a double hired servants or whatever. Even unto them will I give in mine house and within my walls a place and a name better than of sons and of daughters. I will give them an everlasting name that shall not be cut off. Also, the sons of the stranger that join themselves to Jehovah to serve him, right? They're going to be a servant. That's what you saw in Deuteronomy 15. And to love the name of Jehovah, again, it goes back to his name. To be his servants, every one that keepeth the Sabbath from polluting it, and taketh hold of my covenant, even them will I bring to my holy mountain, and make them joyful in my house of prayer. And that house of prayer, you check the Strong's Concordance for prayer, is judgment. Right, and then you see how Yeshua quotes this, right? It was said my house or my whatever. It's supposed to be the house of judgment, but you made it a den of thieves and robbers. Right, John 10 again. Their burnt offerings and their sacrifices shall be accepted upon mine altar. For mine house shall be called an house of judgment for all people. And then goes on, right? Jehovah is gathering the outcasts of Israel. Um, but yes, that's again like talking about this Key David, right? These eunuchs, because that's like kind of what it spiritually represents. And so now we hop over to Matthew 19, and so hopefully you're able to like hear this stuff about the key of David. Like another good place about actually to hear the key of David is if you read the book of Joshua. You read from like Joshua, I think it's chapter 1 to like maybe 8 or 6 or something like that, and that's like where I heard the key of David. And it basically like if you pay close attention how they leave their women on the other side of the Jordan, and then you get to I think it's Joshua 8, where they go 7 times around Jericho, like for 7 days straight. So one of those days has to be the Sabbath day, and it's probably the last day where they go around 7 times on that day. Well, the only way they would have been allowed to do that is if they were keeping the key of David, right? They left their women on the other side of the Jordan. And that's a great day dawning also reference there in that chapter. But Matthew 19, um, okay, Matthew 19, and I'll start at verse, let's see here. Because he goes on, he starts talking about like marrying, and biblical marriage is like consummated at sex. It's not about getting a piece of paper signed or whatever. Um, because you see this in like Genesis, like chapter like 2 or whatever. Um, I'll just start at verse 9. Um, and I say unto you, whosoever shall put away his wife, except it be for fornication, and shall marry, it's unrelated, but just to get some context or whatever of this, shall marry another, committeth adultery, and whoso marrieth her which is put away doth commit adultery. His disciples say unto him, If the cause of the man be so with his wife, it is not good to marry. But he said unto them, All men cannot receive this saying, save to whom it is given. So not everybody can receive the saying. And so Yeshua says that for a reason. And so you want to be one of these people that can hear the saying. And maybe you can't hear the key of David yet. So you got to go read these things that I'm talking about. again and again and again until you can see it. Because the only people that are called to the throne before Great Tribulation, because there's no preacher of rapture, as the Christian church says, because they're full of liars. Right? Matthew 24 tells you that the Christian church is full of liars. Um, the only people that are delivered from the sixth seal, the day of judgments, is these people that also have the key of David. Okay, so again, but he said unto them, all men cannot receive this saying. And so like it doesn't mean that like the people that don't have the key of David won't be saved. Like it doesn't mean that like the people that like aren't called before the sixth seal won't be saved. There will be people saved in great tribulation, and there's also going to be like the people that are ignorant to the word of God. They're going to be taken into this second Exodus. But so all men cannot receive the saying, save to whom that is given. So some people it is given, and so then they receive it. And so this is going to connect to the next thing that we get to. For there are some eunuchs which were so born from their mother's womb, and there are some eunuchs which were made eunuchs of men, and there be eunuchs which have made themselves eunuchs for the kingdom of heaven's sake. He that is able to receive it, let him receive it. So they've made this vow or whatever, like yeah, where they're gonna be a eunuch. We're not like literal eunuch. We're not like physical. They're gonna be like, okay, like I'm gonna be keeping the key of David every week, right? That's what you're supposed to be doing. They made themselves a eunuch for the kingdom of heaven, and they're supposed to be keeping this key of David continually, this fast continually. Um, and so if you're able to receive it, then you're not supposed to just be just like, oh, like who cares? Like I'll just like break the key of David sometimes. Sometimes I keep it, whatever. No, you can't be doing that because this goes back to the parable of the talents. Um, and especially on the one place that I want to read is in Matthew 25. Okay, so Matthew 25, starting verse 16. Then he that received 5 talents, right? So about this parable of talents, um, yeah. So then I'll just This is the middle of the parable, but it's fine. And he that had received 5 talents went and traded with the same, and made other 5 talents. And likewise, he that received 2 talents, he also gained other two. Right? So these people received 5 talents. This person received 2 talents. And so if you're receiving this 1 talent, right, the key of David, you're supposed to then like bear more talents by like giving it to other people and stuff. By being faithful with the talent that you've been given. Um, but he that received 1 talent went and digged in the earth and hid his Lord's money. So he did nothing with it. He was just like, oh, whatever. Um, and after a long time, um, the Lord of those servants cometh and reckon with them. And then I was skipping down to verse 24. Then he which had received 1 talent, right? You could think of this, maybe it's the key of David, maybe something else, but maybe you received the key of David. Came and said, Lord, I knew that thou art an hard man, reaping where thou hast not sown. Right? So this is now about he knew that you were supposed to enter the work of the prophets, which you learned, I think it's in John chapter 4. You're supposed to reap where the prophets sowed, and then together you'll rejoice at the end. Right? So reaping where thou hast not sown, and gathering where thou hast not strawed. And I was afraid, and went and hid thy talent in the earth, and lo, there thou hast that is thine. His Lord answered and said unto him, thou wicked and slothful servant, thou knowest that I reap where I sow not, and gather where I have not strawed. Thou oughtest therefore to have put my money to the exchangers, and then at my coming I should have received my own with usury. So he hid it. Um, and so you're not supposed to be doing that. You're supposed to be like be faithful with the talent that you've been given. And then so now you see it says, take therefore the talent from him and give it unto him that hath 10 talents. So even that which you have or which what you thought you had, it'll be taken and given to other people. So you might even like lose your like servant calling. For unto everyone that hath shall be given, and he shall have abundance. But from him that hath not shall be taken away, even that which he hath. And cast ye the unprofitable servants into outer darkness, there shall be weeping and gnashing of teeth. And then so you see like how Paul says something similar about making sure that you keep this fast. In 1 Thessalonians 4, verse 3, for this is the will of God, even your sanctification, that you should abstain from fornication, that every one of you should know how to possess his vessel in sanctification and honor. Right, your vessel, keeping a holy vessel. Um, and so let's see here. Where do we want to go to next? Okay, Matthew 13. So, right, if you have the key, David, if you received it, you got to be keeping it. I mean, of course, like there's like if your spouse is unbelieving, then that's a little bit different. Um, but okay, Matthew 13, and actually, no, I'll go first to for First Corinthians 7 about that part. Um, because you can't also defraud or whatever. Like it has to be agreed upon. Um, but so this is First Corinthians 7, and I'll start at verse 1. Now concerning the things whereof ye wrote unto me, it is good for a man not to touch a woman. Right? And so Paul was a eunuch for the king of heaven. He wasn't married. And so there's a good reason for that. So he could keep the key of David all the time. So it'd be easy for him. Nevertheless, to avoid fornication, let every man have his own wife, and let every woman have her own husband. Let the husband render unto the wife due benevolence, and likewise also the wife unto the husband. The wife hath not power of her own body, but the husband. And likewise also the husband hath not power of his own body, but the wife. Defraud ye not one the other, except it be with consent. You both have to agree for a time, that you may give yourselves to fasting and prayer. Know that fasting prayer is a key in. And so even, right, fasting prayer, fasting and judgment. Right, prayer, judgment, judging righteous judgment. So that fasting, key David fast. And then also you'd like pray so you don't like give in. But yeah. And come together again, that Satan tempt you not for your incontinency. But I speak this by permission and not of commandments. For I would that all men were even as I, but every man hath his proper gift of God, one after this manner, and another after that. I say therefore to the unmarried and widows, it is good for them if they abide even as I. But if they cannot contain, let them marry, for it is better to marry than to burn. Um, oh wait, I skipped. Um, and there's a good verse here. Let's see here. Um, there's a verse that's you should be um, like those that are like married should be as those that like are not married. Like that's like the time that we're in. I don't remember where it is, but it's somewhere. You can find it. But yes, there's that. And so now Matthew 13. Um, so Matthew 13, starting verse 10. Um, and because this is about the mysteries of the kingdom. Um, because even you see how in Proverbs it's like it's the glory of God to conceal the matter and the honor of like kings to search the matter out. And so like the key day you're supposed to be searching this out. You're supposed to be searching out all the things in scripture. Um with scripture. So in Matthew 13, verse 10, and the disciples came and said unto him, Why speakest thou unto us unto them in parables? And he answered and said unto them, Because it is given unto you to know the mysteries of the kingdom of heaven, but to them it is not given. For whosoever hath, to him shall be given, and he shall have more abundance. But whosoever hath not, from him shall be taken away, even that he hath. So the same thing that we read before. Um, and so, where is that verse? Let's see here. Because you have like where this, okay, Mark 9. Yeah, because this is a key thing for the key of David. Mark 9, and about casting out demons. Right, these people, um, when the disciples, they were like, we can't cast it out. Um, so Mark 9, verse 25. When Yeshua saw that the people came running together, he rebuked the foul spirits, saying unto him, Thou dumb and deaf spirits, I charge thee, come out of him, and enter no more into him. And the spirits cried and rent him sore, and came out of him. And he was as one dead, insomuch that many said, He is dead. But Yeshua took him by the hand, and lifted him up, and he arose. And when he was come into the house, his disciples asked him privately, why could not we cast him out? And he said unto them, This kind can come forth by nothing, but what do we read in 1 Corinthians 7? By prayer and fasting. So if you're keeping the key of David, only then you would have been able to cast out the demon. Um, and so that's why it's really important to keep this key of David, right? Because you're only going to be able to cast out demons, and especially on the Sabbath day, when you have the key of David. Um, and so this goes to the apocalypse of Elijah that gives you even more detail about like the true benefits of like the key of David, right? Being able to cast out demons. And then also it's actually I'll just read it here. Um let me so Apocalypse of Elijah, um and so I'll start at verse 13 and you can just listen along or you can look it up yourself. But so and it's chapter 1, verse 13. Okay, hear, O wise men of the land, concerning the deceivers who will multiply in the last times, so that they will set down for themselves doctrines which do not belong to God, setting aside the law of God, those who have made their belly their God. Right? So, who are these people that have made their belly their God? Well, we see these people also in Isaiah 56. Right? These dumb dog watchmen that feed their own belly. Um, and it's because they're going to their own way, right? After their own covetousness, right? After the cares of the world, they're getting choked up by the briars and thorns. Saying the fast does not exist, nor did God create it. And so you don't want to be saying that. You don't want to say that, oh, the Q day doesn't exist, because you get this warning in the book of Revelation at the very end. And let me find it real quick. Okay, so Revelation 22, it's at the very end of the book, right? Verse 18. For I testify unto every man that heareth the words of the prophecy of this book, if any man shall add unto these things, God shall add unto him the plagues that are written in this book. And if any man shall take away from the words of this book of the book of this prophecy, God shall take away his part out of the book of life and out of the holy city the things which are written in this book. You don't want to be saying, "Oh, the key of David doesn't exist." You don't want to say that. But so continue back here. So that they say the fast does not exist, nor did God create it. There's many evil sermons that have said this stuff, denying the key of David, making themselves strangers to the covenant of God, and robbing themselves of the glorious promises. Right, and you see how in Ezra 9, how it was made as a benefit. Um, I think it says in Ezra 9. Let me see. Um, or maybe it's just reads it a different way. Where is this book? Where is the book of Esther? Or Ezra? Or Ezra? Okay, it's after Chronicles. Hey, Ezra 9. And I'll start at verse 5. And at the evening sacrifice I rose up from my heaviness, and having rent my garment and my mantle, I fell upon my knees and spread out my hands unto Jehovah my God, and said, O my God, I am ashamed and blush to lift up my face to thee, my God, for our iniquities are increased over our head, and our trespasses is grown up unto the heavens. Since the days of our fathers have we been in a great trespass unto this day, and for our iniquities have we, our kings, and all our priests have been delivered into the hand of the kings of the lands, to the sword, to the captivity, and to a spoil, and to confusion of face, as it is this day. And now, for a little space, grace has been showed from Jehovah our God to leave us a remnant to escape, and to give us a nail in his holy place, right? A nail in a sure place. It's the same thing. That our God might lighten our eyes and give us a little reviving in our bondage. For we are bondmen, right? You say all that same thing in like Deuteronomy 15. Yet our God hath not forsaken us in our bondage, but hath extended mercy unto us in the sight of the kings of Persia, to give us a reviving, to set up the house of our God, and to repair the desolations thereof, to give us a wall in Judah and Jerusalem. So yeah, it's given as a little reviving in our bondage. But so back to the apocalypse of Elijah. So yeah, this is the glorious promise. Now, verse 14. Now these are not ever correctly established in the firm faith. Therefore, don't let those people lead you astray. Don't let the people that say, "Oh, the key of David doesn't exist," don't let those people lead you astray. Remember that from the time when He created the heavens, Jehovah created the fast for a benefit to men on account of the passions and desires which fight against you, so that the evil will not inflame you, right? So that the evil inside you doesn't like cause you to sin and stuff like that. But is a pure but it is a pure fast which I have created, saith Jehovah. The one who fasts continually will not sin, right? So you got to be keeping continually, week by week, so they will not sin, although jealousy and strife are within him. Let the pure one fast, right? And then their hands are going to be pure of blood. But whenever the one who fasts is not pure, is angered Jehovah and also the angels, right? So that means that if you vowed, okay, I'm going to be a eunuch for the kingdom of heaven, and you're supposed to be, if you can like, hear the saying, you're supposed to be faithful to what you've received, right? Then you're angering Jehovah by not keeping this key of David, and he has grieved his soul, gathering up wrath for himself for the day of wrath. But a pure fast is what I created, with pure heart and pure hands, right? So blessed are the pure in heart, for they tremble at the word of God. You see that in Isaiah 66 verse 2. And then pure hands, you see that in uh, Psalm 24, I think, and they have clean hands. It releases sin, right? So this is what the key David did. Key David does. It releases sin, it heals diseases, it casts out demons, right? Not by Baal, but by the finger of God that wrote the Ten Commandments, by the Spirit of God. It is effective up to the throne of God for an ointment and for a release from sin by means of a pure prayer, or a pure judgment. Who among you, if he is honored in his craft, will go forth to the field without a tool in his hand? Or who will go forth to the battle to fight without a breastplate on? Right? So, how can you go start making war if you don't have the key of David? That's what it's saying. If he is found, will he not be killed because he despised the service of the king? Right? Because he despised it. Oh, God gave me the key of David, and I'm not gonna use it. Likewise, no one is able to enter the holy place, right? But you're supposed to be as a nail like fastened in the holy place. If he is double-minded, right? So you won't abide in that holy place or whatever as that nail. The one who is double-minded in his prayer is darkness to himself, and even the angels do not trust him. Therefore, be single-minded in Jehovah at all times, so that you might know every moment. Okay, let's see here. Okay, yeah, you got another good place that kind of talks about this a little bit is Ecclesiastes. Um, let's see here. Okay, Ecclesiastes 12, and it's pretty close to the end. Okay, verse 10. The preacher sought to find out acceptable words, right? Hebrews 12, or Hebrews 13, 15, and 16. Um, because the acceptable sacrifice is communication. Right? So acceptable words, and that which was written was upright, even words of truth. And the words of the wise are as goads, right? As a staff, or like a shepherd's staff, and as nails fastened by the master of assemblies. That's the Lord of hosts, which are given from one shepherd, right? From Yeshua. So it's again talking about that. Let's see here. Is there any other good places for Key of David? Um, let's see here. Went through Isaiah 28. Um, yeah, I think that's it with the Key of David. Um, some other places that we can read is um is the testaments of the 12 patriarchs. And so there's some good places that I'll point out. So you got Testament of Naphtali, chapter 8, verse 7. Or well, starting at verse 7. For the commandments of the law are twofold, and through prudence must be fulfilled. For there is a season for a man to embrace his wife, and a season to abstain thereof for his prayer, for his judgment. And so we're in that season that we're not supposed to be like embracing, right? Keep David. Testament of Joseph, chapter 9. For God loveth him who in a den of wickedness combines fasting with chastity. Right, the same thing that Apocalypse Elijah talked about. Rather than the man who in king's chambers combines luxury with uh, license. And if a man liveth in chastity, and desireth also glory, and the Most High knoweth that it is expedient for him, he bestoweth this also upon me. And you also got Testament of Joseph, chapter 10. Ye see therefore, my children, how great things patience worketh, and prayer with fasting. Right, prayer with fasting, that's the key, David. So you too, if ye follow after chastity and purity with patience and prayer, with fasting and humility of heart, Jehovah will dwell among you because he loveth chastity. And wheresoever the Most High dwelleth, even though envy or slavery or slander befalleth a man, right, same thing as Apocalypse Elijah, Jehovah will dwell in him. Right, if you're keeping the key of David, and even if you have this envy and strife and whatever dwelling in you, God will still, his spirits will still dwell in you. For the sake of his chastity, not only delivereth him from evil, but also exalteth him even as me. So the key of David, like based on this, you really want to be keeping it. But let's see here. I don't know if there's anything else I need to point out. But yep, so make sure you go to straightasthegate.net. If you're able to receive this Q David, right, make sure you keep the covenants of promise, the Ten Commandments, which is the original law of God, which Yeshua refreshed, and there's also the Rainbow Covenant that you must keep, because if you don't keep these covenants, then you're still estranged from God. And once you are keeping these covenants of promise, make sure that you go and tell your neighbor, right, to also keep the covenants of promise. That is the royal law, right? The watchman calling. So again, go to straightasgate.net. It's spelled STRAIT is the gate.net.